are welcome to share your story and inspire others. I am Fiona Brennan, your host. I'm a personal success coach, founder of Inspire Action Success, and here in conjunction with Global M.A.P.S events, I share with you beautiful stories from heart-centered entrepreneurs around the globe. This show is for entertainment purpose only, and the views of our guests are not necessarily the views of Inspire Action Success or M.A.P.S Global events. Enjoy.
Welcome to Share Your Story and Inspire Others. I am Elaine Sugar, and today I'm filling in for Fiona Brennan. Today, I have the honor of interviewing someone whose work I have been admiring for quite some time in the wellness community that he has been able to build around him. So I get to introduce you to Tyson Sharpe, and he is going to tell you all about the Serving Circle and knowing our community and the value that we place on being heart-centered. I know you're going to enjoy this interview. So hello, Tyson.
Hello, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yes. So that was the way I describe you and introduce you and your community. Why don't you take a little bit of time to tell us about you and how you describe what the Serving Circle is and what role it plays in the world?
Sure thing. Yeah, well, the Serving Circle is a community of spiritual business owners who are all looking to find creative, resourceful, fun, passionate ways to collaborate and grow online. So most people join the Serving Circle when they want to get on more podcasts, do service exchanges, collaborations, referral partnerships and joint ventures, these sort of things, but really from an energy of heartfelt service. That's what this is all about.
Awesome. And tell us, who is Tyson and what does Tyson do when he's not running the Serving Circle?
Yeah, sure. So I do a lot, but my main business is really helping spiritual entrepreneurs do what I've done. It's being able to grow online, have a consistent flow of income, consistent flow of leads and clients by doing what you love, by integrating spirituality with profitable business strategies. So we go into a lot of the inner healings and inner shifts that are necessary to create that outcome, while also doing what's necessary online from profitable business strategy point of view in terms of your messaging, your marketing, creating irresistible offers, and combining all of that so you can build the business that you're proud to run.
Yes. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I just have to let everyone know, in case you haven't followed us on social media and figured it out this month, we are spotlighting the Serving Circle and the community that has been built there. And it's just a place that I personally enjoy. So this is not just someone interviewing someone for a podcast. It's a place where I've gone on many occasions and left feeling so much more energized and enthusiastic than I felt when I first arrived. So it does a lot. And I read other people's comments and I see what they say about it. So the Serving Circle is very much a part of the M.A.P.S community. And I cannot thank you for bringing that into my life, into our lives enough.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure. It's always good when I find when people build communities, like what you've done, M.A.P.S, and people are starting to realize that, hey, a heart-centered, thoughtful, intentional community is really what sets this vibration that the world needs. It really is. It's demonstrating how we can communicate, demonstrating how we can come together, demonstrating, taking actions from unity consciousness and just more and more of love. Obviously, that's what you're all about and what you guys do as well. So it's a pleasure to be able to do that alongside you and then also mingle with our networks to sort of allow everyone to meet each other. I think it's fun.
Very powerful stuff. So we are here to hear your story, and you can share whichever story you would like. So is there something in particular, multiple? Tell us what we're going to talk about tonight.
There's many things I could demonstrate, but the real key tipping point for me, I think, is where a lot of people also find themselves, and that's the decision to really go all in on following your heart's calling and following this mission. It really is a matter of dropping the stories of what you think you should do, and really follow a heart-centered, you know, this passion and this energy that's flowing through you that says, this is my expansion. This is the sort of journey I want to be on. My real journey there started when I was in Canada and I was traveling around, being a poor traveling Australian. And I came across the world of personal development and still had no clue what I wanted to do with my life until I came across Tony Robbins and realized there was a business and a field called life coaching. And the decision I made was to jump into that program, and it induced a lot of fear. And the reason being because while I was traveling, the investment to jump into that course was half of everything I had in the bank. And it was really at that time when I put my fears aside, put my need for certainty aside, and decided to take the leap, decided to really follow this heart's calling and trust the universe that it'll all come together, no matter what. So I jumped into the program, fell in love with learning about psychology, learning about emotions, learning how to really create rapid transformation for people. Therefore, I decided to move back to Melbourne, where I'm from, and start my own online coaching business. This was 6 years ago, and just started saying, hey, I'm a coach, and then dealing with all the challenges that come up along the way with that as well.
So when you say dealing with all of the challenges that come along with that, what are some of those that you experienced?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I tried to build an offline business, which took about 2 weeks for me to realize I don't need to build an offline business. I can do it all online and make it a lot easier. But the challenges around the uncertainties, the fears, the not feeling good enoughs, you know, these sort of patterns that say, hey, I'm looking to coach people. And at the time I was 26, something like that. And, you know, I'm coaching adults who are in their 50s, and me having this thing like, who the hell are you to be able to coach these people? Who the hell are you to be able to build a business online? You didn't have business experience. You didn't have anything like that. But those were the sort of challenges that you need to overcome, and just take one step after the other to navigate your way through it, right? Navigate your relationship with money, relationship with sales and marketing, relationship with your ability to coach, and your relationship with clients and helping their transformation. It's just really just starting to become the version of you capable of mastering all of those things, by putting one foot in front of the other, welcoming the challenge, welcoming the uncertainty, welcoming whatever barriers there are, and finding creative solutions for them.
You said relationship with money, and then you mentioned several other things, relationship with. I'm not sure everybody understands the concept of examining your relationship with money. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. So, I mean, the way I see it is, if you were to think, talk, feel about money as if it's another person, what would you be saying? And would what you be saying and feeling be empowering or disempowering? So what if you, let's say, money is like a friend in your life? What would your friend be feeling if you had the beliefs around, you're never here when I need you, right? There's not enough for you to go around, but I want you to be here all of the time. But when you are here, I'm going to criticize you and say you're doing something wrong. You know, it's simply not a relationship that's one of harmony, respect, appreciation, and unconditional love.
You would think if you had that type of relationship that there would be a departure soon. And we don't want a departure with our money, right?
You got it.
Okay. Your point is well made. And I want to Yeah, go ahead.
No. So I also just want to, while following this, is imagine if you're on the other end and you're that person, you're the money, and imagine that you have this friend who's always like, you're never around, and I hate when you're not around. But then when you are around, they're just like, you're never around. I want you to be here more often, and they're just criticizing you all of the time. And you can obviously you've seen where this is going. That departure is going to happen, and that's sort of like what's happening with life and the universe when we have these, relationships come up.
Yeah, no, that's a really good example that drives the point home. And then also, several sentences back, you talked about deciding to be quote unquote all in. So what's the difference in studying, um, putting in hard work, putting in time versus being all in? Like, what's that distinction?
When I say all in, I mean follow your expansion. Now, follow your expansion means follow that energy of something that's both scary / exciting. So it means it can be very, very exciting. Like, we all can think of this next leap that life's guiding us towards. Wouldn't it be awesome if we did this? Wouldn't it be awesome if we left this job? Wouldn't it be awesome if we moved to Italy? Wouldn't it be awesome if we told that person we love them and we, find a way to go on our first date, or whatever it is? There are these things in life that always feel like a calling and always feel like a leap, that feel expansive. It's like, in order to take this leap, I have to heal what's no longer serving me, remove what's no longer serving me, and step into a bigger vibration, play a bigger game, and embody and condition the resources within myself that I need to condition. Right? That's the way I describe follow your expansion. So when you're following your expansion, that's what I describe as all in. You're taking your leaps that are unknown, but do feel like a calling to your heart, to your soul, to your spirit.
Wow. Very excellent description. Do you have any examples that you're comfortable sharing that you actually experienced on your journey? Like,
Sure.
to give specifics so people can really make sure they're getting it.
Sure. So when I was building my business for the first 3-4 years, I was also working in a restaurant as I was building my business up, and I was cutting my hours back at the restaurant, to 4 shifts a week, 3 shifts a week, 2 shifts a week, sometimes 1 shift a week. But I always kept the job in the early stages because of the security, right? Because of despite how little the paycheck was, it was a consistent paycheck. And so I needed that to feel comfortable, to feel safe, to feel secure. And many people can notice this pattern in themselves as well, where they need to make money, a certain amount, to feel safe. At this time, I started doing a lot of meditation, which we'll get into in a minute. But my leap, when I was doing these meditations, my calling was leave the job. Now, I wasn't making much money in the job. I also wasn't making much money coaching. But I had this insight, this guidance, this excitement that said, leave the job. Now, that's what I call a leap. I realized I was going to my job to follow a pattern of safety, right? And as I followed a pattern of safety, it was no longer in my expansion to consistently go to the job. So what I did was, I sent a message to my boss that said, I'm leaving and this is my end date. Then as soon as I did that, what happened? All of the fears came up, and they came up because they came out. They came up because they needed to be seen, to be expressed, to be released. That's why following a leap is so important. Following a leap allows that pattern of maybe safety or significance or insecurities and fears to come to the surface and then come out. Right? So it was very scary leading up to it. And then as I sent that message, as I knew I was committed to the leap, as I knew I was going to leave, a lot of the fears started to leave, and I was sitting in this space of possibility. The example I use for taking a leap is like skydiving. Now, when is the scariest part of a skydive? Have you skydived?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, I'll schedule you in to go skydiving so that it will the analogy will land. But with this, the scariest part of skydiving isn't when you're falling. The scariest part is when people are on the plane, still on the plane, about to jump.
Yeah.
Now, we think about this and we're like, what the hell is that about? Why is it scary? Why is it most scary when you're still on the plane? Rather than when you're falling towards the ground? That doesn't make any sense. Ask anyone who skydived; they'll tell you this truth, or at least the vast majority will tell you it's when they're on the plane. That's when you're still safe. But it's because the fear isn't in the falling. The fear is in the decision to take the leap. Because when you're on the plane, you can still back out. You haven't really decided. But once you take the leap, yeah, it can still be scary. You're screaming, you're falling down. But there's also the acceleration because you've made the decision. You're all in. There's no going back to the plane. You're all in, and you're free falling. And now you can enjoy that roller coaster of emotions, including the excitement.
Oh, wow. Only Tyson can explain falling, jumping out of a plane as being all in. You're actually out of a plane, falling, but you're all in. It makes sense.
I was always thinking of leaving the job. And every time I did, it was so scary. It was so scary. However, leading up to it, like the more I'd lead up to it, the more scary it would be, like the jumping out of the plane. Then as soon as I sent the message, I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, cool, there's still a little bit of fear, but I'm like, we're doing it now. And the level of possibility starts to come in. And I think what's really happening in your energy field is, let's say with me, as I was in the job and trying to find a way to leave the job, but not leaving it, I was operating from the energy of the version of me not capable of leaving it. As soon as I made the decision to leave, I step into the vibration and the side of me that can leave a job and coach full time. So that was 2.5 years ago, something like that. And I've been doing coaching full time since then. I've never looked back, of course. Never looked back at the plane and said, I wish I was back on the plane.
That is fantastic, the way you gave that analogy. And no, I've never jumped from a plane, but that makes perfect sense. It really does. You can definitely apply that to other analogies and things that you have experienced. So yeah, that's really helpful. So what are the, I guess, highs and lows of a journey like that? Even once you've made that decision, then do you deal with other people who kind of question you and say, you're doing what? Are there people, telling you you're crazy and you need to go back and get your job? What kind of experiences are you having once the decision is made?
Yeah, all of the above. But those voices weren't coming from outside of me. All the voices coming from inside me. But what happens is, I find as you follow this heartfelt calling, as you build a business that's based on your soul's purpose, along the way, we need to do two things. One, we need to release what's no longer serving us. And two, we need to condition the resources or the sides of us that we need in order for the journey. So we consistently release some beliefs that are no longer serving us, insecurities, doubts, judgments, attachments. We start releasing all of those while welcoming in more and more unconditional love, patience, passion, determination, love. Right? Now, in order for us to heal the patterns that are no longer serving us, it takes the process of feeling them through and feeling them fully. And this is what I found in my journey. So as I was leaving the job, what really happened in that time period was my business started falling apart. Like I ran out of, like, my clients dried up. My social media was doing well at the time, and then it wasn't. And, I had to give refunds to some clients through crazy circumstances, like brain injuries and lawsuits and things like this. And I was like, what the hell's going on? What is going on here? And what I realized, it was life teaching me a deep lesson. It was life teaching me that it was life highlighting the patterns within me where I was attached to money to feel safe, or I was attached to outcomes and circumstances to feel inherently enough and loved. So what's often needed is life to take those things away so I can find who and what I really am without those things. So what I find with a lot of entrepreneurs who are building their businesses, instead of building a business from fear of trying to be enough, trying to be loved, trying to be safe, there's a huge healing journey that needs to take place where we welcome in those fears and hold a loving, safe space for them so they can be felt and come up so they can come out. So you can heal yourself in that process. Another way of saying that is, instead of building your business from fear, sit with the side of you that's scared. Hold a loving, safe space for the side of you who's scared, the side of you who's scared to go broke, the side of you who's scared to be judged or make mistakes, right, or fail. And what happens is you start to heal those fears as you feel fully. That's what I started doing in meditations. That's what I started doing. The first day I did an extended meditation was healing those very fears around money. And I sat in this chair for about 6 hours. Wow. I just sat in silence and I just welcomed all of the fears and insecurities and doubts and judgments. And as they started coming up and leaving, I was getting a few insights that I felt were true. One of them being, look, if you build a community and you just fall in love with the art of serving and being of service, everything else will solve itself. Everything else will happen in perfect timing. That means the opportunities, the collaborations, the income, the clients. And it was really from that meditation, I rebranded my group and called it the Serving Circle. And I just had that insight that this is going to be a community where we work together from a heart-centered place. And I just can put that together and trust no matter what happens, it's all going to happen for me. I'll stop there because I'm talking a lot.
Wow. I love that. And that process of sitting with the fear, sitting with those feelings and holding a loving space for them. So literally, what does that look like in describing that to someone where a lot of us have heard, oh, push that aside and go forward? You're saying pause in that space, acknowledge it. So what are we literally doing? So I'm sitting and I have all these doubts and fears running through me. What does it look like to hold a loving space for those?
Okay, great. So before I go to the steps, it's important what you just highlighted. A lot of us have been taught to avoid, to resist, and react to our uncomfortable emotions. So instead of feeling fear, like a lot of people are building their businesses, and you have to ask yourself the question, what's your deepest fear with your business? Is it you're going to fail? You're going to go broke? You're going to be judged? Your mum's not going to like you? What? What's the fear that you have? And what would the emotion be if that was to come true? If that was to manifest, what would the emotion be? Whether it's shame or embarrassment or sadness or guilt, whatever that is. Asking yourself those questions helps you reveal there could be a side of you building your business to avoid that emotion, right? So you have the energy of doing your marketing, your messaging, your outreach strategy, you're building your business to avoid feeling shame or embarrassment or sadness or guilt. Right? You following?
I am following, and I have left the interview and I am so being coached right now. You have no you have no clue. We'll call this a coaching session.
All right.
This is really powerful stuff. Keep going.
Okay. So when you're building your business from that energy of avoiding an emotion, you only get to access a certain level of resourcefulness. You won't be able to create the resourcefulness necessary to solve the challenges. It's almost like operating from a place of fear, operating from a place of desperation and neediness. And when you're doing that, you know what sort of state you're in. You can't solve anything. You can't fight your way out of a paper bag. So what I found is a really, really resourceful way of navigating this. Instead of avoiding the fear, instead of building your business to try to avoid what you don't want to feel, you sit there and you feel it. It's coming up organically anyway. It's coming up to be seen. The more you avoid it, it will just build unconsciously. All right. We know the saying, whatever you resist persists. If you resist these emotions, you just push them down, and where they're in your energy field, unconsciously manifesting the very fear, right? However, if we welcome it in, and let's say the fear is a pain in your chest or an emptiness or heaviness in your stomach or a lump in your throat or whatever it is, you welcome the fear, you breathe with it, you hold a loving, safe space for it. Meaning, if there's a heaviness in your chest, focus on your chest and allow it to be as heavy as it needs to be. Just allow the heaviness to be there. And instead of being the fear, instead of being the heaviness, you become the observer of it. You observe the fear, you observe the uncomfortable emotions, you observe the sensations. As you become the watcher, you can welcome it. You can allow it to intensify as much as it needs to, and just allow it to do whatever it needs to. It's not your job to change it. It's not your job to shift it. It's not your job to make it leave. It's your job to sit there and allow it to be as allow it to be as present as it needs to be, and allow it to do whatever it needs to. Now, surprise, surprise, you're not going to feel fear for your whole life. The more you surrender to it, it'll just do what it needs to. And whether it passes through in a matter of 30 seconds, often, or 30 minutes or 30 days, it doesn't matter. What happens is you surrender to the process and you be okay with feeling fear. You be okay with feeling the uncomfortable emotions, feeling it in your body, and surrendering and welcoming all of it. And that's why it starts healing, because that side of you is finally seen. It's almost like there's an inner 5-year-old. I use the analogy with your 5-year-old. There's a 5-year-old inside you that's scared.
Wow.
There's an inner 5-year-old that fears, if I go broke, if I'm not a success, then I'm going to be abandoned again, or I'm going to be hit again, or this person's not going to love me. I'm not going to feel accepted. We develop all these patterns of trying to be enough as a child. Those patterns are still in you, but they're now ready to come up to be healed, right? So that's what this process is doing. You're welcoming in this 5-year-old, giving them the permission to feel expressed, giving them the permission to finally feel seen, finally feel heard, finally feel loved unconditionally. And that's when that energy system, that side of you, no longer runs the show, but it can finally be loved and healed.
Wow. That's some powerful stuff. Wow. That's powerful. So what have I not asked you about that if we don't talk about it, people are really going to miss out on an important part of your story?
I think what really comes from this is the commitment to it. You don't need to commit the level of time that I do. Since I started doing those exercises, the extended meditations and sitting in silence, that was my main intention, to welcome and feel all emotions that are coming up, so I can love all sides of me. And I decided to do 2 hours a day of meditation, 2 hours a day of silent meditation. And I did that for about 2 years. Now I do at least one in the morning, and then I do whatever feels in my expansion. But if you were to totally, it really was a turning point in my life when I decided, hey, 2 hours a day is my priority. That's my priority over food. You know, I'm getting my 2 hours a day in, so that I prioritize my soul and I prioritize my spirit's calling, knowing that if I prioritize that, everything else will shift. So that was my real commitment to myself. And if anyone else wants to create that shift for themselves and that commitment of sitting in silence, you know, you have my support, because it's a courageous thing to do. It really is. So that's what I would recommend.
Well, thank you so much for everything you have shared. And we've mentioned the Serving Circle several times. So why don't you take a moment and just describe kind of the agenda, for lack of a better word, what takes place there, and then how can people join?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can search the Serving Circle in Facebook, on Facebook groups. It'll come up. When you join, there's a few things you get with the welcome pack. So what most people join is for our collaborative calls. So each week we have the collaboration calls where, you know, 20, 30, sometimes 40, 50 people join each week, and you meet people who are wanting to collaborate with you to help you grow online as well. So the collaboration calls are really cool. But also in the welcome pack, so you get the links to that in the welcome pack. Also, you get a complimentary course that people are loving, which walks you through this process we just talked about. It goes through the specific questions. It goes through the specific details of how to heal. The way I described it, it's a course that teaches you what to do internally, the internal shifts that are necessary to achieve this consistent flow of clients that you want. And it requires all of these internal steps that we're talking about in this call. And then there's also a directory where you can post your business details, let everyone know how it is you're looking to collaborate and grow. And you can also look through the directory of all the other members who have filled that out to start connecting in that way as well. So you can find all those details in the welcome pack.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And aside from the Serving Circle, your coaching business, and we will definitely put information in the show notes so people will have it in writing. But how do they reach you if they're interested in your coaching services?
Yeah, tysoncoaching.com is a way to reach me. But I mean, most people find me on Facebook. And if you want to shoot me a personal message or something like that, yeah, you can always reach out there.
Okay. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I'm totally honored to have you here. I look forward to collaborating on many, many more things in the future. So thank you so much, Tyson.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right. So again, it has been my honor to fill in for Fiona Brennan. We miss her, but we had a wonderful show, and I look forward to connecting many of you with Tyson in the Serving Circle. It is a great community, and I look forward to you all joining us for our next episode of Share Your Story and Inspire Others.